Sri Lanka's most powerful news brand.
Welcome back. A public meeting was held in Kegol yesterday under the auspices of Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe. Speaking at the meeting, the Prime Minister clarified the reasons to convene Parliament on the 8th of February.
They said they wanted to discuss the Bond Commission report, so I convened Parliament on the 10th of January, but it ended up in jeers and hooting. The matter was never spoken of. Now there are two Commission reports. Now the issue, when can Parliament convene to discuss them? Will it be before or after the election? I am the only one who can convene Parliament before the 19th of January. The Speaker made a request from me on Friday to convene Parliament. I met him that night and said, I will convene Parliament on the 8th. We have nothing to hide, nothing to sweep under the carpet. We are open and transparent. We can talk about policies. We will be bringing in a new act which will restrict obtaining such loans called the Liability Management Act. What we want to do is to reduce the time period of repaying this country's massive national debt.
Well, you're back at the Newsfirst newsroom. I have Faraz Shaukat joining me today. Now, Faraz, the claims made by the United National Party faithful is that the UNP leadership of Mr. Ranil Wickremesinghe, our Prime Minister, that he is Mr. Clean and that everything he speaks is the truth and that he is an exemplary leader. With the things that have happened in the recent past, how fair are these claims?
Well, they may be talking about pre-2015, but post-2015, there's much that has happened that leaves, there's a lot to be desired, really. And therefore, so many things have happened, so many departures from established procedure, from established process, that really, if one was to look at it with this cold neutrality, then the Prime Minister's position is absolutely untenable.
Now, the Prime Minister has a track record in Parliament as well.
Yes, 40 years in Parliament, it's unbroken. 23 years as leader of the United National Party, and this time round, the fourth time as the Prime Minister of Sri Lanka.
So he is no stranger to parliamentary procedures?
Oh, not at all. He must easily be one of the more experienced hands at understanding parliamentary procedure, the Hansard and all sorts of things. So
now, in what you said was, this may be true for the post or pre-2015 era.
Perhaps.
Is it because of the 2015 bond scam that you're saying?
Well, yes, because you see, the government, led by Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe, who was charged with being, in effect, the managing director of this, if you looked at it from a company perspective.
Okay.
And they came in promising good governance, accountability, responsibility, and a level playing field for everybody. And they said that the finances were in a mess.
Yeah.
Well, isn't it absolutely amazing that it is that very point, finances, that has led to today the concern right throughout the country. And of course, Ramesh, you must know by now that I mean the bond scam.
Okay, Faraz, before we go any further, I want our viewers to listen to a statement made by the Prime Minister on the 17th of March 2015 in Parliament. Let's listen to this and then get back to our debate.
I insisted on a public auction because private placements have led to corruption and lack of transparency. Previously, parcels of government bonds were handed out to selected individuals on a favoured basis through a system of private placement. It took place outside the normal auctions of government bonds.
Now, with the details that were uncovered through the Presidential Commission, I see a small issue in the statement that we heard.
Indeed. The Prime Minister, if you heard him right, he said, I insisted, and perhaps you want to get the meaning of the word.
The definition of the word.
The definition of the word.
Let me get that for you.
Insisted.
I think I'll have it over here. There you go.
Right. The word insist means demand something forcefully, not accepting refusal. She insisted on carrying her own bag. And the Prime Minister said nothing about a bag. But what he did say was that he insisted on the system being changed. He said that there was corruption in the other in this other system, according to him. And the system, he insisted. And as you can see, the definition of insist is to do something forcefully.
Exactly.
Right. Well, that is what happened. And therefore, when we read the page 930 of the Presidential Commission of looking into the issuance of bonds.
Let me put it up for you. Let's see it.
Now, if we look at that here, page 930, and it says here, the evidence establishes that Mr. Mahendran had not been instructed or directed by the Honourable Prime Minister to act unilaterally and immediately suspend or stop direct placements on the 27th of February 2015. Well, I'm so sorry, but I do wish that the Commissioners would have mentioned what the Honourable Prime Minister said in Parliament, that he insisted on the change. Not only was Ranil Wickremesinghe the minister in charge of the subject of the central bank, but he was also, and he still is, the Prime Minister, the first among equals. And Arjuna Mahendran, the former governor of the central bank, during court proceedings, he said it under oath, that, and then Diu Gunasekara will attest to it, because he got him to swear before he made the statement. He said that he did only as he was asked if he was following the Prime Minister's instructions. And therefore, Ramesh, it would have been far, far better for the Commissioners. I do wish that the Commissioners would have included what the Prime Minister said, had they, which is that he insisted on the change. Had the Commissioners actually said it and put this in the report, it would have added context to their report, and it would have certainly added clarity, and it would have been also keeping with this notion of being coldly neutral. And that's really essential, because this was such an important report for our country, and it's absolutely unacceptable that this.
If you were watching this broadcast at home, if you saw the voice cut of the Prime Minister and then you saw this statement delivered by the Presidential Commission in page 930, what would you think of as a viewer?
Well, there are some people who may think that this report lacks, or this section certainly, section 19, page 930, dealing with the Prime Minister's statement in Parliament, that some people may think that it lacks, that it is partial, and that it is, that it is partisan, that it lacks impartiality and it lacks bipartisanship. And this is absolutely sad, bad news for Sri Lanka. As we are fighting corruption, we are fighting political patronage, and these two items have conspired to stymie the progress that this country can make and should be making.
Now, you mentioned the word conspire. Now, this is a funny thought that came across my head for us. Now we know of secret societies operating all throughout the world. Do you think that there is some old boys club or a fraternity of some kind in play here?
Well, it's entirely possible. Certainly, you also missed, there is something known as a lawyers' collective, right? Now then, all these things are possible. But, to be frank, Ramesh, we need to leave our old boy networks behind, and especially when we pursue the duty of care that we have towards the people who elected us to that high office. It is no mistake or anything of the sort that people refer to the Prime Minister as the Honourable Prime Minister, and most people will refer to him as Sir. That's because that job is honourable.
So you're basically saying that when approaching matters of national importance, you have to be impartial.
Well, you have to be coldly neutral. It's very important, these two words, coldly neutral. You have to be coldly neutral. And the Commissioner's failure to put in what the Prime Minister himself said adds a bit of doubt to that last 3 lines of page 930. What do they mean by that? That Mr. Minden had not been instructed or directed by the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister insisted, and we saw the Oxford Dictionary's statement,
right.
the definition of the word insist. So it really is sad, bad news when Sri Lanka is fighting political patronage and fighting corruption to find that these things have been left out. And some people will think that it's not impartial.
Unfortunately for us, that's all the time we have for this tonight. It's back to the main news studio for the continuation of the news.
Thank you, Ramesh. Moving on to other local news now. Speaking at a public rally in Siripura, Trincomalee, JVP leader Anurukumara Dissanayaka had this to say regarding the Prime Minister.
Ranil
Wickremesinghe is the same. He is not doing what he said he would do after taking the position of the Prime Minister. I remember he said that after coming into power, they would catch the thieves, imprison the thieves, and use the stolen property to develop the country. Did they catch the thieves? No. They protect the thieves. Ranil Wickremesinghe, Tilak Marapana, Vajirabe Vardhana and the Police Minister Sagar Ratnayaka all protected the thieves. Do you know why I mentioned these names? Because when this is aired on TV, they will ask how they protected the thieves and I will tell them everything.